Hello, 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 and welcome every single one of you to today's session. Super cool to see you guys in. Just busy doing a couple of bits in the background to give us a chance to get kicked off. Hello, 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 and welcome every single one of you to today's session.
Cool.
Super cool to see you guys in. Just busy doing a couple of bits in the background to give us a chance to get kicked off. There we go. Right, okay, so we're officially in. We're also live on Facebook. Super cool for you guys to be joining us today. Thank you very much for joining. I'm very excited for the session that we're going to be in for today. Let me first of all kick off with saying thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate you taking the time to tune in, to listen, and to learn a little bit about property. I want to just kick off by asking a series of a couple of questions, if I may. So just want to kick off asking for those of you that are joining me on Zoom, you're also joining me on Facebook, I will be getting your messages through, although there is a delay. But if you're here because you'd like to learn how to build a property portfolio, please do me a favor, just give me a yes in the chat. Let's just check and let's just start to get the communications going and the conversation rolling. For those of you that are tuning in, yes, okay, perfect. Hey, Devin, awesome to see you in, by the way, buddy. Super cool, thank you. Okay, so for those of you looking to build a property portfolio, who's looking to be in a position where you are financially free? That means you never have to work another day in your life. Who's on this session because you'd like to get to that point where your portfolio basically provides your income for life? Who's there? Let's just check in, guys. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Okay, Ashish, Devin, yes, okay, and a few of you guys. Excellent. Okay, so for those of you guys that are here, who's okay for me to take the next hour and a half to teach you exactly how to not only build a property portfolio, but also create financial freedom? If that's you, just give me a yes in the chat. Let's just check in. Let's just make sure that you guys are in the right place. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, and excellent for those of you on Facebook as well. So you're in luck because you're 100% in the right place. We're going to take the next hour and a half to go through how to build a property portfolio, how to achieve financial success, and how to create a portfolio that sustains your life forever. Okay, very, very exciting session. So just want to kick off with saying welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it, but much more importantly, you should commend yourself for doing what 99% of the world refuses to do, that is actually investing the time in yourself. So if you can reach, give yourself a bit of a pat on the back. But congratulations and well done for doing what very few people in this world do, and that's actually investing yourself. So congrats. Now, as part of what I'm going to be covering today, one of the things I could be covering is a little bit of how we lost over £100,000 on one deal. Okay, I'm going to be covering that a little bit later today. Who'd like to learn how to lose 100 grand on one deal? Who'd like to learn that? Okay, much more importantly, who'd like to learn how not to lose 100 grand on one deal? Who'd like to learn that, guys? If that's you, give me a yes. Okay, if you'd like to learn how not to lose 100 grand on one deal, give me a yes. Let's just get the chat going. Okay, perfect, excellent. Okay, excellent, good. That's what we're going to be covering. So, just to kick this off, as in who this is for, okay, so just so you guys know you're in the right room and the right session, okay, this is for people who'd like to achieve more, okay, so this session here is for people who'd like to achieve more. So if you're sitting at home, you're saying, I would like to achieve more for my life, this is exactly the session for you. This is also for people who are committed to actually doing something and making a change in their life. Now, the very reason that you're tuning in here now is because you would like something to change in life. So if that's you, you're in the right place. And finally, for people who feel it is time for something to change. Let me just check in. Who feels it's time for something to change for the better in your life? If that's you, just give me an I in the chat. Let's start to keep the check-ins going. Okay, excellent. Good, good. Okay, good. Okay, you guys are 100% in the right place. Now, who this is not for, okay, who this is not for. This is not for talkers. Okay, the people who love to talk a good game. And if you're sitting at home and you love to talk a good game, but not necessarily play, sorry, this is not for you. Okay, snails, people who refuse to take action quickly. Okay, they want to mull over every single decision for hours and hours and hours. If that's you, this is probably not the right session for you. And finally, people who refuse to change. Okay, if you refuse to change, then this is equally probably not for you. Okay, now this is what you're going to be learning. Okay, this is what you're going to be learning in today's session. I'm going to keep it fairly brief and fairly succinct just to make sure that you guys realize that I respect your time. Okay, so the first thing you're going to be learning is how to get started in property. For those of you that this is a new venture, you're going to have a bit of an understanding of how to get started and how property actually works. The second thing is we're going to teach you how to buy a house for £10,000. Let me just check in. Who'd like to learn how to buy a house for 10 grand? Who'd like to learn this? If that's you, give me an I. Let's check in. Okay, good, good. Yes, excellent, good. Okay. Next, how to raise finance. Okay, if you'd like to learn how to raise a whole heap of finance, we're going to be covering that today as well. Okay, and then we're also going to be teaching you the power of leverage. So how you can leverage other people's time, efforts, and to be able to build your portfolio and achieve your financial success. And finally, how you can get more property for less money. Okay, more property for less money. Out of interest, who realizes that you can spend a lot of money on property and make very little money in return? Who realizes this? Okay, anybody realize this? It should be all of you. Property can be very expensive if done incorrectly and very painful. And I talk from a very vast amount of experience in this. Okay, perfect. Right, okay. Now, out of interest, does this sound like you? Okay, now this may or may not be true to you. One or more of these statements. You know, no or little financial security. Okay, or the feeling that you are stuck in the rat race. You're having to work in this job, whether it's furloughed or not, work in this job just to pay your bills every single month. Okay, and you can't get off the rat race. You can't get off the wheel. Okay, or you feel like you're making somebody else rich. So you're putting in all your time, effort, and energy. Somebody else is getting rich on your wares. Or you feel like you are not following your dreams. You're following somebody else's instead, or finally leading an unfulfilling life. Okay, does this sound like any of you guys? Any of these? Do any of these resonate with any of you guys at the minute? By the way, I'm just checking in and making sure you guys are in the right place. That's why we're opening up this way, just so you have an understanding. Okay, perfect. Now, this whole session, the whole premise of what we're doing here is we're enabling you to change your destiny. That's what this is. This is an opportunity for you to learn how to invest in property and change your destiny forever. The way in which you're going to break free of those changes, you're going to get yourself educated, which is exactly why you're here. That's number one. Okay. Second thing is get yourself a mentor. Okay. That is why I'm here. I'm here to mentor you and guide you and help you, not just on this session, but also on an upcoming 3-day training and potentially ongoing from there on as well. Okay. Get a mentor, invest in yourself. Okay. That's a huge one. Make sure you invest in yourself. Then create your wealth. Okay. So instead of earning money to pay bills, start to earn money that will basically create your wealth plan for the future that will enable you to get more income passively so you can finally leave the job and finally be in a position where you can follow your destiny as opposed to leading a life that does something for someone else. Right. Now to open up a little bit as to who I am and why I'm here. Are you guys okay if I take a couple minutes just to share who I am, my background, why I'm here, just so you have an understanding why I'm speaking to you here today? Would that be okay for you guys? Yes or no? Let's check in. Okay. Want to check in? Yes. Okay. Good. Right. So basically, my name's Richard Van Ommen. I'm originally from South Africa. I'm not British born, although I moved here when I'm very, very young and very small. And I've basically spent my entire life here. And throughout my young life, I very much remember hearing people say, "You're smart, but you'll never amount to much." This was a reoccurring conversation with my teachers. So my expectation of life was not one of grandeur. I always expected my life to be very mediocre and just very normal. And I remember going all the way through my teenage years, job hopping, just basically slobbing around and having a good time. And eventually my mother said, "Look, I'm tired of this. You're going to go get an apprenticeship. You're going to go get a trade." Okay, now some of you guys may know this. You know, your parents want you to be a doctor or an engineer or, some sort of trade that is a valuable long-term investment. So mine was engineering. So your grandfather's an engineer, your father's an engineer, your brothers are engineers. You're going to be an engineer. I was all right. So I guess I'm going to be an engineer. And I became an engineer and I went through an apprenticeship and I found my gift. I found what I am actually very good at, which is the ability for me to actually solve problems. That's my gift. Now, please understand, you at home, you also have a gift. You have something that you're just typically better than other people at. You might not be the best in the world, but you are typically just better than other people at as an average. Now, for me, that was problem solving. And I did pretty well in the apprenticeship. I ended up sidestepping and working onto London Underground. And while being on London Underground, I worked my way into a pretty specialized position called a signal engineer. Okay, which basically means all the signaling work. I did a lot of the commissioning work, basically installing new railway. Very interesting, very fun, very exciting work, and very specialized. Now, the beauty about specialized work is you tend to earn specialized money. right? You tend to earn okay money. Not like doctor money, not like, pilot money, but decent money. It was good money. The problem is, though, is my expectations of life was somewhere down here, and my reality of earning was somewhere around here. So what do you think I did with that money in the middle, out of interest? What do you think I did with the money in the middle? So, between my belief and my reality, what do you think I did with that money? Let's check in with you guys. Let's start to get the dialogue going. By the way, guys, I love to have a good conversation with you, because only in a good conversation can this be fun and engaging and entertaining for all of us. Whereas if it's just me talking for an hour and a half, I promise you it bores me to tears. It'll bore you to tears. I like to have a good conversation where we can talk to each other and ask some real questions. Okay. Invested to replicate. Ashish, if only I had the financial intellect back then. Unfortunately, what I ended up doing is I ended up just spending the money. And I don't even know what I bought. Honestly, if I look back now, I have no idea what I got. But I used to just spend the money. I'd buy stuff on Amazon. I'd be trying to build inventions. It was just silliness. And I remember I eventually got into a point where I was in a bit of a habit of spending, because every month you have this money coming in and you spend the money. And every now and then you get to the end of the month and you'd still be wanting to spend, but you wouldn't have the money to spend because you spent it. So I did what a lot of people do, and I ended up getting on some consumer finance, so credit cards, loans, so on and so forth. And I eventually started to rack up more and more debt over a period of time, just being naive and silly in my young years. And I eventually got to a point where the interest payments on top of my monthly bills was more than my monthly income from work. So I only had one choice, okay, one choice. Well, I had a couple of choices, but I only had one real choice open to me that I felt was the right one, which was to work more hours. And I remember getting to a point where I was working somewhere between 80 and 100 hours a week. Permanent night shift, by the way, permanent night shift on the underground, an hour and a half drive each way. So I was out of the house at least 100 hours a week as an average. And some of you might go, yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. But bear in mind, I had a wife. So this is my wonderful wife over here, Haley, and my boy, Dylan, over there on the end. Wonderful. And he was 4 at the time. Now, do you think that was a good quality of life? Working over 100 hours a week plus travel and having a young family. Would you say it's a good quality of life? And I know many of you guys are in this rat race or have been in this rat race and know how this feels. And no, it was terrible. It was hideous. I hated it. Yeah, completely sucks. And I remember being in a position where I said to my wife, look, I can't keep doing this because I'm working so many hours just so we can pay our bills and we're barely keeping our head above water. And I said to my wife, I said, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to burn out. And she says, don't worry, honey, it can't get much worse. Now, for those of you that have ever had anyone say to you, it can't get much worse, you just know it's going to get worse. Now, bear in mind, I had a contract to London Underground. So this is a government contract. So I was contracting to the Underground for my work. And government contracts are about as secure as you're going to get. And I remember rocking up to work one evening and my boss came up to me and, hey, Rich, thanks for coming in. Just to let you know, this is your last night of work. Now, this was about 3 or 4 days after this conversation. And I remember just being sat there completely dumbfounded. I had that moment. You know, that moment where you feel like the world needs to just swallow you up. You're in a dream. It's not real. Something's got to give. It's not really there. And I remember sat there for about 20 minutes just trying to absorb this information. And I did my night shift. And I got in my car at the end of the night and I drove home. And I sat in my front room at like 7 o'clock in the morning in my very lovely orange overalls, waiting for my wife, who at this point was 8.5 months pregnant, and my then 4-year-old son to come downstairs. Now, it's really interesting because on the journey home, I was percolating about this whole experience and how I'd feel and what I'd do. And the bit that scared me the most, which was my thought of how my wife would react, ironically, was not the bit that hurt me the most. So, I mean, if you understand, as 8.5 months pregnant, ladies on the chat, is it fair to say at 8.5 months pregnant, you're not necessarily at your most emotionally stable anyway? Is that a fair statement? Just want to check in. I asked the ladies because I don't want that to be confirmed by men because I know the answer. But yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you, ladies. So 8.5 months pregnant is a pretty intimidating time. It's not emotionally fun. And I remember when my wife came downstairs and she saw me crying on the sofa. Now I'm a manly man, I don't like crying. And I sat there with tears in my eyes on the sofa trying to understand what I could say. And she said to me, she said, look, what have you done? Like, what's going on? And I said to her, I said, you know, this whole work thing I've got going on, well, it's gone. Like, it's no more. I have no contract. And she says, well, how long before you get another contract? She says, well, today's day and age, probably about 6 months. And she says, how much have we got in savings? She says, well, we don't really have much in the way of savings. Like, we're pretty out. And then she did everything I expected she would do, which, you know, she first got angry and then she broke down in tears, exactly as expected. And although that was the bit I feared the most, the bit that really got me was looking at my son, who was 4 years old, who stood there completely bemused, had no idea what was going on, and realizing I hadn't really spent much of my life with him because I'd always been working, right? And the one thing I could do for him that I had been doing for him was to bring money into the house. And I couldn't even do that right. And I had that moment, you know, where you sit there and you go, I can't even do the only thing that I thought I could do. It was horrendous. I very, very vividly remember that feeling of the pit of my stomach. It was sucky. And after a few months of basically beating myself up and crying myself to sleep, I eventually came to a realization that, you know, this won't fix anything. Me feeling sorry for myself won't fix anything. Anybody ever been at a point in your life where you feel like you've sort of hit the bottom, or things like it's just really, really hard? Anybody ever had this experience, by the way? Just so you know, I've kept the conversation private so that you're communicating with me, so you don't have to worry about what other people see of you saying. So I like to have an individual dialogue. So, okay, so a few of you had this experience, and it sucks, right? It's a horrible experience. And after a few months of realizing this won't help, I eventually got myself up and I said, okay, well, what can I do to fix the problem? Okay, bear in mind, I love fixing problems. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go seek some help. So I spoke to my brother-in-law. Now, my brother-in-law, his name is Grant. He works for Menzies Aviation, one of the largest ground crew companies in the entire world. They basically run the ground crews of most of the airports around the world. And I spoke to him and I said, hey, Grant, look, you're a successful guy. You know, you're a director of Menzies. Like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? Can you help me? And he said, look, I want you to read this book. Now, for some of you guys, you will have read this book. And for others of you, you will not have read this book. If you have read this book, okay, great. If you have not, I want you to write down the book. This book single-handedly changed my entire perspective. Now, obviously, I did a lot of work afterwards, but it changed the perspective. The book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by a chap called Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Out of interest, who's read this book? Who's read this book? If you've read this book, just give me a yes in the chat. Let's just check in. Aye, excellent, excellent. Okay, yes, excellent. Okay, so a few of you have read this book. If you have not read this book, make sure you are writing this down. And by the way, every session that we do together, I hope you have a pen and paper and you are scrawling like crazy, okay? Because we've got a lot of stuff we cover, okay? So get your pen and paper ready, scroll like crazy. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad by a guy called Robert Kiyosaki, okay? Brilliant book. Now, what this book showed me is that the fundamental idea of how I've been trying to live my life and earn money is flawed. Just checking in, you guys understand that for those of you, actually, let me ask you a different question. Out of interest, who on the chat is either in a job or works in your own business where you're kind of self-employed, but if you stop working, you stop getting paid? If that's you, just give me a yes. Let me just check in. Okay. And I'm opening this question to all of you guys. I would love some responses. It gives me a bit of an idea who's in the room. Okay. There's quite a few of you guys with that's you. Now, interestingly enough, is it fair to say that basically you are a slave to that job, or you're a slave to the person who can dictate whether you get paid or not? That's basically modern day slavery. Is that a pretty fair statement? They hold the power as to whether you get paid or whether you can pay your bills, and etc. It's modern day slavery. And the way in which you earn money is you trade your time for money, right? So are you working for money, or is money working for you? And that's the $1 million question, right? Are you working for money, or is money working for you? Yeah, and you're working for money, right? That's how that model works. Now, the book that I'm talking about here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what that book showed me is that instead of you working for money, why don't you get your money to work for you? And off the back of that, that changed everything. So we started investing in property. Now I've raised, alongside my business partner, Taro, my Japanese counterpart, we've raised somewhere in excess of £2 million over the last 5 or 6 years. Built portfolios, multi-million pound property portfolios, bought and sold property portfolios, single-handedly helped Over 100 mentorship students, do well in excess of 11 million in property in the last 2 years. I mean, we've done a lot, right? It's really exciting. And it's interesting because that whole thing comes from that fundamental of, instead of working hard for money, you make your money work for you. So off the back of that, and bear in mind, this was like 7 years ago, I'd say. 6 years ago now, because my boy is going to be 10 this year, which is scary, by the way. So 6 years ago now that had happened, and we're now in a position where not only have we bought and sold multi-million property plant portfolio, we've created several 5, 6, and 7-figure businesses, trained tens of thousands of property investors in over 28 different countries of the world, personally mentored hundreds of property investors that are executed on excess of 150 deals in the last 2 years alone. So we've done a lot, but the most important thing is I get to hang out with these guys. Okay, now we also have another daughter, Jessica. She's 2. I need to update this picture. So you got Emily and then Jessica, who's 2. The thing that I love about what we do is not about having done all of that. It's much more important about the fact that I get to spend the time with my family that I want to. And this is where it's interesting, because I get to take my kids to school every day. I take my kids to school every single day. I took my kids to school this morning, and I love it. I love being the parent that rocks up, the dad. It's almost always mums. I love being the dad. You always get all the funny looks. It's wonderful. And for those of you dads that do this, you'll know the look. You'll know the look. And I get to spend the time with my kids. You know, my daughter does gymnastics. My son does go-karting. Like, they do all the stuff that they really want to do. And I get to hang out with them and spend time with them. And it's interesting because I tell this story, like I say, I've spoken on stages in 28 different countries around the world in front of thousands of people. And I always tell this story and I always get the same question back, which is, how can I work with you to achieve something similar? Now, please understand, my time is valuable, okay? What do you think your most valuable asset is in life? Okay, what is your most valuable asset in this entire world? What is your most valuable asset, guys? Let's check in. Okay, and it's a useful question. Time, exactly right. Why though? Why is your time the most valuable asset? Okay, why? And it's 100% right, by the way, 100% correct, but why? Okay. And I'm looking for a response here. Okay, because you can't get it back. Exactly, Dominic, exactly right. You cannot get it back. Once it is spent, it is gone. So for me, my most valuable asset, like you guys, is my time. So I'm not cheap to work with. I'm 100 grand a year to work with on a one-to-one basis. Now, I'm not going to suggest we work together on a one-to-one basis, because for the vast majority of you, that just doesn't make sense. Who'd like to learn how we can work together and I can help you build your portfolio and replicate similar results to me, and it'll cost you almost nothing? Who'd be okay if I do this with you today? Okay, who'd be okay if I do this with you guys today? Okay, yes. Okay, so that is the premise of what we're doing here today, is I'm going to teach you all the basics of property and show you how we can work together, and it'll cost you practically nothing, which I think is more than an amazing deal, as you'll see. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing this though. Okay, and this is $1 million question. Well, if you've got all this money, then why do you do it? Let me ask a very simple follow-through question, because I love this question. It comes up a lot. Oh, but if you're already also successful, why are you doing all these trainings? Love this question. When you get to a point that you no longer need to work, what do you think you're going to do with your time? When you never have to work another day in your life, what do you think you're going to do with your time? Play golf, help others. Okay, 100% Ashish. Okay, play golf. Okay, and then when you've played golf all over the place, what else are you going to do with your time? So I can promise you, you're not going to be able to fill 8 hours a day playing golf. Maybe some days. Reinvest their time, okay? Sure, what are you going to reinvest the time on? And I'm leading somewhere, by the way. It's a really good question, really good responses, by the way. So keep them coming. I'm loving this, okay? Anything and everything that I want to when I want. 100% Dommy, okay? And then when you've gone and seen the world and you've gone and spent the time with the people and you've gone and done everything that you want to do, and you realize that the vast majority of people don't have that kind of free time, what do you do to fill the gaps? Family time, 100%. Kids are at school. What do you do to fill the gaps? This is very interesting, because everyone always says the same thing. Oh, when I'm financially free, I'm never going to work again. Bullshit. Start a bucket list. Yeah. Okay. Inevitably, you're going to end up working. The difference is you're going to be doing something that doesn't feel like work. You're going to be doing something that you're passionate about, something that you love doing, something that engages parts of you that give you fulfillment and satisfaction and gratification. Because the whole premise of life is to do something that challenges you and enables you to grow and gives you a sense of fulfillment. Like, that's what we do. That's literally the premise of life. When you get to a point that you lose that, then you have to go and find that again. And inevitably you do it through doing work that makes you feel good. Now, people do it in different ways. They either do charity work, or, they go and devote their time to people who need help, or there's a whole bunch of stuff that people do. The way in which we do it, or the way in which particularly myself and Taro do it, we love to spend time with other people, enabling them to build portfolios so that they never have to go through the financial stresses that we went through and that others go through. Quick question. What do you think happens to about 90% of people after they retire within 5 years? Okay, in the UK. Depression, for sure. Most of them go completely broke within 5 years. Okay, you've all seen the old people on the checkouts, pushing trolleys, all that sort of stuff, relying on family, living with family, selling up. So most people, they actually end up selling their family home within 5 years. Okay, over 90% of people in the UK when they retire. Now, do you think that's going to get better or worse as the pension pot's depleting? Okay, exactly. So I'm on a mission. My mission is to enable people to take care of their own finances and stop relying on the government, because the government will not take care of you. They just won't. So I'm trying to help people when they come to retirement age, and I see a lot of people that I'm very, very close to going through this in their retirement years, struggling for money, financially tight, worrying about pensions, not having enough assets to be able to put them through. It's hideous. This is why I'm doing this, because I have a genuine mission to help people not get in that position. The problem is that most people go, yeah, but that's 40 years down the line. I'll worry about that then. That's 30 years down the line, or that's 20 years down the line, or oh shit, that's only 10 years down the line. Oh wow, I'm 5 years away. Life goes by in a flash, guys. And if you don't take care of that, it will never be taken care of. And trying to think that it'll be taken care of through time, I'll make sure I deal with that in the future, you're kidding yourself, and you are. So what I'm trying to do is help people build a small portfolio, create a little bit of financial security, and take care of themselves in future life. Who's okay if I help you create financial security for future life? Who's okay with that? If I do that with you guys? Yeah, exactly, right? That's why I'm here, to enable you to build that portfolio and achieve that life and start to actually live. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about the opportunity of what we're going to be covering. So essentially within this session, we're going to walk you through the basics of how property works, and then take you through step by step what you need to be taking into account. Now, please understand, okay, who thinks I can teach you everything you need to know about property in about 90 minutes? Who thinks I'm that good? I know I'm good, but I'm not quite that good. But who's a little bit delusional on that? Okay. Okay. So I wish, property, like any other expertise in the world. Okay. Could you imagine a surgeon saying, well, I went on a 90-minute crash course, good for this operation? Could you imagine that experience? Okay. You wouldn't trust them. And in exactly the same way, if you treat property like a hobby where you think, I'll just chuck 90 minutes in and I'll be okay, you are going to get hurt, or somebody is going to get hurt. Okay, so you need to make sure that you understand that this is a profession. Property investing is a profession. And sure, you're setting up a nest egg for your future, but it is still a profession. And if you do it wrong, my very first flip deal, I lost over £16,000 on one deal. My very first deal. It wasn't even my money. Yeah, I had to find a way in which I could replace that. That sucked. Now, if you do not do this properly, it will hurt. So the whole thing of what we're doing here is this is a taster of what we're going to be showing you in a 3-day training. And in the 3-day training, we'll give you a much more comprehensive idea of how the whole thing works. Does this make sense? By the way, that we'll give you a taster, and then if you like it, you can have more. Does it make sense, guys? Are you happy with this? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so that's the opportunity. That's how this whole thing works. Now, I'm going to first of all kick you off with investing priorities. So I'm going to be switching a little bit between myself and the iPad. So this is the iPad, and then I'll drop myself out so you don't see me. Okay, so you've got 3 investing priorities. Okay, so when it comes to investing, Priority number one, okay, your very first priority number one, okay, is cash flow. That is priority number one. Okay, you are building the portfolio to get your cash flow up. Nice and simple. Okay, I will go through what cash flow is in a little bit more depth in a minute. Okay, now, number two. Okay, number two is wealth. The second priority of investing in property is wealth. Okay, so this is creating a large portfolio with tons and tons of value or tons of money, okay, within it, or equity. And then number three, okay, your third priority when it comes to investing is legacy. Okay, now legacy is what you leave to family. Okay, leave to kids, leave to grandkids, so on and so forth. Okay, so cash flow, let me start out with what that is. So cash flow is basically your income after expenses. This is the term, cash flow. Okay, this is your net income, your profits, you might call it. Okay, now the reason we do this, priority number one needs to be building your portfolio based on cash flow, is because if you're buying property and you're saying, hey, look, I've got this amazing house I bought for this brilliant discount, but it's costing me money every single month to own it. This is what we call a negative cash flow. And if something happens in your personal circumstances, it runs the risk of pulling down your entire portfolio. Okay, so priority one is the portfolio needs to be self-sufficient. It needs to earn enough money to pay for itself and then some, so that even if something happens to you personally, your portfolio is still fine. Okay, otherwise you'll undo all of that hard work that you've been doing. And I talk from a lot of experience through this. It's been an interesting property journey, as you'll find out the more you get to know me. Okay, and then legacy. If you're buying property to leave to your kids, again, if you do not take care of cash flow and it's not self-sufficient and something happens, there is a possibility that either you or the kids could do something that unravels the entire portfolio and therefore undoes all of your hard work. So priority number one always needs to be on your cash flow. Okay, always. You need to make sure your portfolio is self-sufficient. Priority number two is then you go, okay, well, now let me create a wealth. So now I've got 5 million in equity or 9 million in equity, but I know if I need to sell off some of the property or I need to get some lending against it, I then have wealth I can play with. Okay. Now this is a plan that's created through time. This is how property works. I'll go through this with you in just a minute. It's fascinating. And then only then do you worry about legacy. Okay? That is when legacy kicks in. If you do this the wrong way around, you will lose the whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a little bit about why property investing. Now this is a graph from the Office of National Statistics. This is not my graph. Let me be clear. I didn't make this. Okay, this is from the Office of National Statistics. I don't know how clearly you guys can see this, but hopefully you can see it clear enough to be able to do something on it. But basically, this takes a look at the average value of property in the UK, okay, as an average all the way through time, since records began back in the 50s, doomsday, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now what they show is property prices in the UK double on average every 8 to 10 years. Now, the important word to understand here is on average, okay, on average. It's not they just double, they double on average every 8 to 10 years. The reason I say that is because if you take a look over here at 1988, property prices on average is £60,000. And then you go all the way down here to 1998, go back up, it's around £60,000. So 10 years pass. And if I said to you in 1998, property prices double on average every 8 to 10 years, you'd say, bollocks, or some other connotation of that word, okay? Because you'd see that property prices are basically the same as what they were 10 years before, nice and simple. However, between 1998, if you go up to 2008, and you'll all remember the 2008 boom and crash, property prices went from 60,000 to 180,000 pounds. They trebled in value, okay? They trebled in value. So when I say property prices double as an average every 8 to 10 years, I mean they double as an average. Okay, now we're going to be using this as information as to what we go through. I can go very in depth to this, but I'm going to keep it very simple. And this is all facts. Okay, please feel free to research this. You'll see this is all historical fact in the UK. Now, the one benefit is we live in a very small island. They're not building enough houses to keep up with demand. As a matter of fact, I think the most houses they've built in a year, last time I checked, was 160,000. And I think they need 270,000 houses a year to keep up with demand. Last time I checked, I'm pretty sure that was the figures. So that tells you something about where we're at in terms of the housing economy. It will only continue to go one way, which is wonderful news for us investors. Okay. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Who has some money in the bank? And £5 counts. Let me just double check. Who has some money in the bank? If that's you, give me an I. Let's check. Okay. Okay, good. A few of you. And what is the bank giving you for your money in the bank right now? Okay, what is the bank giving you for your money in the bank? Bupkis. 0 point, not really worth mentioning, right? And what is the current rate of inflation, or what they call the consumer price index in the UK? Anybody want to hazard a guess as to roughly how much that is? Okay, how much is that right now every year, roughly? This is interesting. Yeah, let's see who's got 2.5. Exactly, 2.5%. That's 100% right, guys. So it's somewhere between 2.3 and 2.5. Now, interest in the bank is increasing the value of your money by 0 point, not really worth mentioning. And the consumer price index is decreasing the value of your money by about 2.5%. So what does that mean for the value of your money every single year that it sits in the bank? What does that mean for the value of your money in the bank right now? Okay, let's check it. Okay, I am looking for responses here. Okay, correct, you're losing money. So who's okay losing money? Who's okay losing money? Let me just check in. Who wants to lose money? You see, you want to lose money? Okay, no. Good. So is money in the bank a good investment? That's the question. Is money in the bank a good investment? Yes or no? No, it's not. Okay, no, it is not. However, money in property, okay, if it doubles on average every 8 to 10 years, it doubles on average every 8 to 10 years, okay, that means it goes up roughly 10% a year. So would you rather lose 2.5% or gain 10% a year, guys? Which would you prefer for your investments, for your money? Okay. Now you see why I invest in property. Okay, that is why property is so powerful. Now let me show you something really, really cool. Okay, I'm going to start taking you guys through a couple of little exercises that I think you'll really love. Okay. Now, let's just say you have a house. You have a nice little house, and you have 100K cash in the bank. You might have that in equity, you might have that in shares, you might have that in whatever. Okay, but let's just say you've got about 100K. And you find a lovely little investment property that'll cost you 100K to buy. Now, I understand there's stamp duty and legals and all sorts of other fees, but I'm teaching you guys the concept. I want everyone to be on the same level. Okay, out of interest, let me just ask if you guys can just drop in the chat, how many investment properties do you guys currently own? Just so I know who I'm talking to and what level you guys are all at. And if it's 0, there's no shame. Please drop a 0. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Tommy. Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Yep. Yep. Thank you, Devin. Thank you. Okay. So now I'm going to keep things fairly simple because people are on a varying level of places. Awesome, Alice. Thank you. Congratulations, by the way. I hope I don't dissuade you from some of the stuff we covered today. Okay, so I'm going to keep things fairly simple and work our way into the slightly more complex as we go to make sure everyone has a solid understanding of how this whole thing works. So you've got 100K cash. You decide that you're going to buy this 100K house. How many houses can you buy if you buy it for cash? Okay, pretty simple. Okay, it's 1. Now, if you take a look as an average here in the UK, what happens to the value of the property? On average, every 8 to 10 years, roughly. Okay, it doubles, which means the house is now worth 200K. And then another 10 years go by. I'm sure most of you will live for at least another 20 years. Another 10 years go by. How much will the house be worth, roughly? Okay, how much will it be worth, roughly? 400K, exactly. Right, now, if you sell the portfolio and you take back your original 100K investment, how much pre-tax profit do you guys make? Okay. Cool, huh? That is purely the power of compounding, okay? That is what's happening to the value of property. Who'd like to make 300K over the next 20 years without having to do any work for it? Who'd like to do that? If that's you, give me a yes. Let's just check in. Okay, yes, good, good. Okay, that's the whole premise of this. Now, who'd like me to show you how you can make a bundle more? Who'd like to make a bundle more money? That's you, give me an I. Oh, yeah. Good, good. Right, now check this out. You start with the very same 100K cash pot, and you find the very same 100K house. That's the value of the house. The difference is this time, however, you decide instead of buying the house for cash, you're going to buy the house on a mortgage. Okay, now how much will the bank lend you on an investment property typically? What percentage will they typically lend you on an investment property? Anybody want to shout it out? Okay, 75%, exactly. So they'll lend you 75K. Okay, nice and simple, 75K. Which means you need to put in a deposit of how much? 25. Perfect. Okay, now we're starting to go into some of the numbers, which I love. Okay, now if you only have to put in 25K and you start with 100K, how many houses can you buy? 4. Beautiful. So basically, you got 4 houses with 4 mortgages and 4 deposits. So your portfolio is worth 400K. Your mortgages are worth 300K. And your deposits are worth 100K. Nice and simple. Now, check this out. 10 years' time, how much is your portfolio worth? Okay, how much is your portfolio worth? 10 years' time. Ooh, 800K. There we go. Okay, 800K. Remember, it doubles. Okay, 800K. Now, you got 2 different types of mortgages. You got something called you got an interest-only mortgage, or you've got an capital and interest repayment. Now, when it comes to your own home, typically you're on something called capital and interest repayment, where you pay the interest every month, and then you also pay a little bit down towards the debt every single month. Okay, and it'll be like a 40-year mortgage or whatever, and you'll keep paying that down. When it comes to investment properties, we always suggest you do interest only. So you're not paying down the capital, the value of the mortgage stays exactly the same through time, and you just keep servicing the interest every single month. And the reason you do this is because you want to get the maximum amount of cash flow or income out of that property as possible, because the sooner you get your income to a point that you no longer need to work, the better. Okay, that is the plan. Primary objective is what? If you guys remember, what is our objective number 1? Okay, cash flow. So we'll do this through interest only. Now, with that being said, how much will you owe in mortgages on an interest-only mortgage in 10 years' time? Okay, how will you owe on mortgages? How much? 300K. Beautiful. Okay, and then of course your deposit is still 100K. Hasn't changed. Now another 10 years pass. How much is your portfolio worth? Oh, now it gets interesting. Exactly, 1.6 million. Obviously, mortgages and deposit is still exactly the same. Now, if you're to sell off your portfolio at this point, how much pre-tax profit would you make? How much pre-tax profit would you make? So the $1 million question, literally, okay, is what would you prefer to make? 300K or 1.2 million pounds? Net profit without having to do any extra work. Which would you prefer? Okay, and obviously, the answer is here. Now, the beauty about this whole thing is made possible because of the power of leverage. Now, we're in a very fortunate position where in this country, the banks will allow you to leverage their money to build your portfolio and create your financial dreams. There is no other actual investments around that are solid investments that you have this opportunity. What do you think that tells you about property? Is it secure or unsecure in terms of as an investment vehicle? Is it secure or unsecure? It's a good question. If the bank is willing to lend you 75% to do it, it's secure, right? 100%. Okay, are banks smart or stupid? I'm not talking about the investment banks per se. I'm talking about banks. They've been around for centuries and centuries and centuries, millennia. Okay, they are smart. They understand what they're doing. So if they say they're willing to stump up 3/4 of the money, they know it's a good deal. Okay, nice and simple. They know it's a good deal, and that's what enables us to keep moving. Okay, cool. Now, who'd like to see a deal of one of our existing mentorship students where you actually get to see this in progress? Who'd like to see one of these? Out of interest, if you'd like to give me a yes. Okay, this is a genuine deal, recently refinanced. So, yep, okay, cool. So let me drop it on. Okay, oh, hang on, flip it over. There we go. So this is the deal. Okay, this is a little 3-bed semi-detached house over in Blackpool. Now, for those of you that have never been to Blackpool, yes, you can buy houses for £65,000. And for those of you that live in the south of England, yes, I know that's the cost of a parking space in London. Yeah, I get it. Okay, but this is the numbers on the house. So property being purchased for 65,000. Okay, purchased for 65,000. Okay, with the refurbishment of £13,000 and a new value on this property of 112. Okay, pretty good deal, right? Now, of course, we've got other costs: finance, stamp duty, legal fees, all that sort of stuff there, 9.5. And the bank lends you what percentage of the value of the property? Okay, what percentage will the bank lend you of the value of the property? We answered this already, but I want to ask this question again because it's interesting. Okay, 75, right? Exactly right. So 75. So your 112 value, they lend you 84. So there's a total investment. If you take a look at the math, so 65 up the top here. So purchase for 65 plus refurbishment. So that's 78 together, plus 9,500. That's 87,500. And the bank's just giving him back 84,000, which means he's actually only got £3,500 invested in this house. Does this make sense to you guys? Okay, does this make sense? Okay, I need to check in, because if I lose you here, it's important you let me know, and I'll go through this again and again, because this is the concept, the whole model of everything that we do. Okay, this is called the buy, refurbish, refinance model. Okay, if you are lost at this point, please let me know. It's okay. For many of you, this is a concept that is vastly beyond anything you would have looked at in property. And for some of you, you go, oh, okay, I'll get that. That's fine. Okay, but it is important you let me know if you're having any challenge with this, because this is the fundamentals of everything we do. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so bought the house for 65. Okay, as you see up here. By the way, I've got a green screen behind me, so it's not quite so easy for me to put my hand, just so you're aware. Okay, so bought the property for 65. Come into that, Ashish. I love it. Good question. Refurbishment of 13. Okay, so those two get added together, because of course you buy it and you refurbish it. So then you're sitting at 78. And then there's other costs as well of £9,500. Okay, so then that's 87,500. So that's the total amount invested into this property so far. But because he's done such a good job, he had the mortgage lender come out and they revalued the property. And they said, oh, the property is now worth £112,000 because of the work that you have done. And because the bank has said that it's worth that, they're willing to lend you 75% of that amount. So you've invested 87,500 and they give you back 84, which means the total amount you actually still have invested in this house is £3,500. So technically, he bought the deal for £3,500. Who'd be okay buying a house for $3,500? Who'd be okay with that? Out of interest? Let me just check in. It's a useful question. Good, good. Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because what is priority? 15 in the event, 7 Facebook. Okay, cool. Yep. So what is the priority of an investor? Okay, who remembers? You've got 3 priorities. What is priority number 1? What is top priority? Hey, what is top priority? Okay, cash flow. Exactly right. It's your cash flow. Now, we need to make sure first priority is that this deal gives you cash flow. So you have your rent. Okay, now this is the amount you receive from your tenant. You have your mortgage, okay, which is the amount that you're paying to the bank every single month for lending you the £84,000. Then you have management fees. Now this is in Blackpool. Okay, this is in Blackpool. The mentorship student that owns this deal, he is based in Kent. Now, for those of you that do not know where the difference is, Blackpool is far northeast, northwest, and Kent is far southeast. Pretty far apart, about 5 hours. Do you think if the tenant calls the landlord at that point, 3 a.m, saying, hey, I've lost my keys, can you let me in? That the landlord would say, no problems, I'll be up there in 5 hours. Do you think that's likely? No, right? So what he does is he enlists the help of a lettings agent, a management agent, and they charge 10% of the rent. Okay, so 595 equates to 59,500. Then I want to introduce you to a friend of mine called Mo. So Mo stands for monthly operating expenses. That's Mo over here. Okay, monthly operating expenses. Write down these details. It is very important. Okay, monthly operating expenses. What is included within that is your maintenance. Okay, your maintenance, your insurance. Okay, because you're going to be paying buildings insurance, irrespective, and your voids. A void is the time after a tenant leaves, before a new tenant moves in. You have a void period. You have to then cover the bills on that period, typically somewhere around 2 weeks. Okay, so maintenance, insurance, and voids. So that is what that 10% for Mo actually stands for. Maintenance, insurance, and voids. It actually stands for monthly operating expenses, but that's what's included. Okay, now what you end up with is a net cash flow position of around £3,200 a year. Okay, £3,200 pay rise a year you don't have to work for again. Never, ever have to work for again. Who's okay with the $3,500 or 332 pay rise that you never have to work for? Who's okay with that? We'll just check in. Okay, it's a good question. Okay, exactly. Okay, good. Okay, now you also get something else out of this deal, something called equity. Now, equity is basically the difference between the mortgage and the value. Okay, the mortgage and the value. The bit in the middle is equity. That's your money. Okay, so this investor, he has £28,000 equity and £3,200 a year that he never has to work for again, and it cost him the grand sum of £3,500. Who would do this deal? Let me just check in. Who would do this deal? Yeah. Good. Now, useful question. Do you think the investor looked at the house and went, oh, I really like the look of that house. I really like the look of that area. Do you think that's how he selected how he was going to buy that property? No. How do you think he selected the property that he was going to buy? How do you think he selected that? I'll give you a clue. There's a whole bunch of them right down here. It's all about the numbers. Cash flow. Beautiful. Okay, investment value, wealth. Fantastic. You guys are nailing it. Okay, now let me talk you a little bit through the BRR model, because that property is what we call BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance. So let me take you through how that works. The biggest trick is you have to start where you can buy a property for a discount. Now, to buy a property for a discount, do you think it's easier to buy it for a discount if it's in good condition or in bad condition? When do you think it's easier to buy for a discount? Good condition or bad condition? Bad condition, right? We call these smelly houses. Okay, smelly houses, my favorite kind of house. As you see here, smelly house, wonderful. Now, when you buy said smelly house that is in bad condition, what do you think you have to do to said smelly house to bring it into good condition? Okay, it's exactly, renovate, refurbish, okay, fix up. Yes, exactly. Okay, you've got to refurbish it. Once you've refurbished it, it goes from a smelly house to a what kind of house? A smelly house to a what house? Once you've refurbished it. Nice house. Exactly. Nice house. And you take the nice house. What has happened to the value of the nice house? What's happened to the value of the house because of the refurbishment? Okay, what do you think's happened? Shout it out, guys. Let's go. It's gone up. Yeah, it's gone up. Perfect. And because it's gone up in value, who can you get to come out and verify that it's gone up in value? Okay, who can you get to come out and verify that it's gone up in value? The bank. They will send a valuer out. And then, providing they're happy, they will give you what in the way of a mortgage? Money. Okay. Are we all happy with how this works? Take a smelly house, refurbish it, end up with a nice house, value goes up, take it to the bank, and they give you some money. Nice and simple. Buy, refurbish, refinance. Now, let me show you this in practice. Okay, let me show you this in practice. So, let's just say you find said smelly house. Okay, find a smelly house, and you agree a purchase price of this house for £60,000, 60K. Okay, I'll come to that in a second, Ashish. Okay, so I'll come to that actually right now. It's perfect time. So you can do the purchase for around 60K. Now, let me ask you a question. Does that 60K have to be your money? Does it have to be your money? No. Is there people out there who are currently earning nothing in the bank that would be more than happy to earn something in the bank? Okay, beautiful. Could you buy this on a mortgage and then only fund the deposit? Okay. Could you buy this in partnership with somebody where they bring all the cash? Okay. There's a whole heap of different ways in which you can buy that. But the fact of the matter is 60K still 60K, no matter how you skin it? Okay, 60K is 60K. Okay, I don't care what you do to it, it's still 60K. Okay. Now you've got other costs, legal fees, stamp duty, etc. Let's just call that 5K, because I want you guys to understand the concept of what we're covering. And then you refurbish the house. And the refurbishment on this house is, let's say, 20K. Big refurbishment. Full rewire, heating system, new kitchen, new bathroom, etc. Now, does this and this also need to be your money? Technically, no. You can raise the finance externally. There are ways in which you can raise the finance, even credit cards, if you really want for some of this. Okay? Now, we call them investment cards. We actually go through that in depth on the 3-day training, how you can leverage over 20 different ways in which you can raise finance to do this. Now, you've spent how much money so far in this house? How much have you spent so far, guys? How much have you spent so far? Okay, nice and simple, right? 85K. Now, I reiterate again, does any of this or all of this or some of this need to be your money? Does it need to be your money? No. It can be cheaper if it is, okay? But if you don't have cash, I built my portfolio using none of my own money. And that's how we did it. I had no cash. As I'm pretty sure we established, I was financially pretty screwed. And I still managed to build a portfolio with nothing. But if you have cash, that makes this much easier. Now, once you've done such a good job, you end up with a nice, shiny, clean house. And what has happened to the value of the house now that you've done the refurbishment work? And what has happened to the value of the house? Beautiful. Exactly. It's gone up. Okay, nice and simple. So now the house is worth 100K. That's the new value of the house. Okay, and now they're going to give you a mortgage on the house. How much will they lend you? Okay, what percentage? And what amount? It's exactly the same, 75, exactly. But you spent 85K on this house. So you spent 85K, they give you back 75K. How much money do you still have invested in this house? And how much money do you still have invested in this house? 10K. Let me ask you a question. Have you or have you not, by default, just bought a house for £10,000? Okay. Have you or have you not just bought a house for £10,000? Yes. Okay, 100%. That is how this model works. Now, this over here, we call your MLI, which stands for money left invested. Okay, money left invested or money left in. Okay, money left invested, your MLI. So let me ask you a question. When do you think you knew the value of the house or had an idea of the value of the house? When do you think you knew that figure? Okay, when do you think you should know that figure, more importantly? okay, when buying it. Otherwise, how do you know it's a deal? Okay, at the time of purchase, exactly right. Okay, otherwise, how do you know it's a deal? So the important thing is to make sure you are happy with your figures before you buy. Now, the real art of what we do is the ability to find those. For those of you currently investing, who's finding it hard to be able to find enough deals? You just check in. There's a few of you already investing. Yeah. Okay. That is the biggest challenge that property investors face. Now, what we're doing, and you might find this pretty cool, and it's something we're going to be covering at length in the 3-day training, is we've created a technology that will find those deals for you. Okay. This is not some property sourcing business where we just find deals for you, although we have the ability to do that. What we've done is we've actually reverse engineered how to invest in property. Understand, I spent 15 years in automation engineering. That is my background. That is what I do. And I came through the property world struggling to be able to find deals just like everyone else. The difference is I decided to reverse engineer how the investing process works. And instead of us viewing thousands of houses like everyone else out there, and we've all done it, where you go view houses, view houses, view houses, view houses, make offers, make offers, make offers, make offers, and get nothing all the time. Okay, I remember I viewed over 90 houses, made over 90 offers, and I got bupkis, nothing for my time. So we reverse engineered how the entire thing works. We've created a technology that we call the Deal Finder. Okay, the Deal Finder. We'll go through that at length on the 3-day training, but I can promise you one thing, categorically, it will blow your mind. Who'd love to have access to a technology that enables you to find deals at the touch of a button, right at your fingertips? Who'd love a bit of that? That's you. Give me a yes. Okay, now, yes. Okay, so that is exactly what we're going to be covering on the 3-day. We actually take quite a bit of time to go through it. We're a technology business. Now, we cover mentoring as a large part of what we do, but we are a technology business at the heart of it. Our tech's just been valued at somewhere around 8 million. We're literally going to be doing a 2 million fundraise. We're expecting to push to 100 million within 5 years and also list within 5 years. So that's what we're doing. We're a technology business. And it is exciting because you as mentorship students would come in ground roots, being able to use something that's not out there on open market, which is fantastic. That's why our mentorship students have found so many deals, and that's why other mentorship companies just can't keep up. They just can't. It's fantastic. Now, to give you a bit of an example of a deal like this, I'm going to show you something called a HMO. Now, HMO basically stands for House in Multiple Occupancy. Okay, this is where you would rent a house out by the room. Okay, you rent it out by the room. And this was done by a couple of our mentorship students, Sam and Charlotte. Wonderful, wonderful people. You'll get to know them. Basically, they took what was 2 houses that originally got knocked in together to make a like a community center downstairs, an office space upstairs. They bought for £100,000 and converted into an 8-bedroom HMO where they're renting it out room by room. Okay, nice and simple. Now, HMOs tend to be a lot more risk, a lot more reward. Okay, much more challenging for sure, but the outcome is actually pretty outstanding. Okay, so purchase price on this, £100,000, refurbishment 45 with a new value of 215,000, refinanced at that, valued at that. Okay, other costs, which would be finance fees, architecture fees, etc., with a new mortgage of 161,000, which means money left in of £250. They bought a property for £250. Who'd be okay buying property for £250? Who'd be okay doing that? Yeah, good. But of course, our priority number 1 is all about cash flow. Okay, so if you take a look as a HMO, they get $2,650 a month rent, mortgage, management, and then they've got the MO and bills. So as a HMO owner, you would typically cover the cost of the bills, the council tax, gas, water, electric, broadband, TV license, etc., as part of the package. Okay, so all of that coming in together gives a net annual income of around £13,000. Net, 13 grand. Who's okay making or getting a pay rise? Who's okay getting a pay rise of somewhere around £13,000 a year? You never have to work for again. Who's okay with that? That's you. Give me a yes. Check in. Okay, Good. So I like to hear. Now, they also have the added benefit of equity. So they've gained equity of somewhere around £53,500. And it's cost them £250 to do it. Now, this is a deal that was picked up by the technology. Another deal that was picked up by the technology. Like I say, our mentorship students have done in excess of 150 deals in the last 2 years alone. 150. That equates to well in excess of £11 million worth of property. We had a mentorship student agree, I think, 7 deals in the last 3 weeks because they used the technology. Hopefully you guys are starting to understand. Finding the deals is not the issue. Are you taking taxes out when calculating cash flow? No, I'm not taking taxes out because everyone's tax position is different. However, and it's something we cover on the 3-day training, if you do this smartly, you do not pay tax, or you pay very, very little tax, legitimately, 100% legitimately. It's all about boxing smart and having a good accountant. But we'll actually be going through that on the 3-day training, all about tax planning. I can promise you, you'll save your money's worth just on that alone. It's amazing. Like, the tax stuff we do is pretty outstanding. Okay, a good accountant's worth their weight in gold in this. Yes, with the new tax laws, we take that all into account. So just for those of you that don't understand, the new tax laws are all around something called Section 24, which is the difference between owning a house in personal name and limited company. Essentially, they've created a disparity. So they used to have it that when you own a property in your own personal name, the mortgage, whatever you pay the mortgage company, because it would be interest on the loan, would be tax deductible. They take it off the tax bill, and therefore you didn't pay tax on that amount. They've changed the law, so in personal name, you now do have to pay tax on that money, which basically means you make less money as a personal landlord. However, in a limited company, you still don't pay money on it. You still don't pay tax on that amount. So it's just legislation changes. They're trying to professionalize the investing world. We go through that on the 3-day training. It's a big part. Tax planning, finance planning, portfolio planning, etc. Forms a really big part of what we do. Okay, cool. So who'd want to do this deal? Let me just check in. Who'd want to do this kind of deal? Okay. Yeah, it should be all of you, right? Who wouldn't like an extra 13 grand a year you never have to work for? Now, let me talk to you a little bit about why most property investors fail. Okay, why most property investors fail. Because it's all nice and good to be able to see all this nice, shiny stuff and how it all works. But there's a reason why property investors, there's only 350,000 UK property investors. Okay, UK property investors, 350,000. I think it's 68 million people in the UK, something like that. There's 350,000 UK property investors. That's a very small percentage. The reason is because a lot of them fail because they don't do this correctly. Do you think it's fair to say that the vast majority of people would love to own some investment properties? Is that a fair statement, guys? Yes or no? Okay, the vast majority of people. Okay, now by default, that means that is at least 34 million people in the UK would love to own investment properties. Less than 10% of that, around 1% of that, actually own investment properties. Okay, why do you think that is? Most of them fail. A lot of them try and they fail, they lose money, or they can't find the impetus to get going. Now, the reason most people fail and the reason why the vast majority of you will fail if you do not do this correctly is very simply, they try to do it alone. That's the first thing. That is the first reason. They think, oh, I'm going to step into this professional world, this professional business where less than 0.5% of the entire country actually do it, and I'm going to make it work on my own. Okay? Very, very common. A lot of people lose a lot of money and impetus because of it. That's the first one. The second one is they don't know how to raise finance, okay? Or they run out of money really, really, really quickly. The property has a way of enabling you to lose money very quickly. Next one, okay? It's a huge one, okay? Is people can't find any deals. A really, really big one. People can't find any deals. Either they're looking in the wrong area or they don't know how to look for deals, or more importantly, they do not have solid technology behind them on how to do it. Okay, so that's the third reason why most people fail in property. Another one is time. A lot of people struggle to be able to devote the relevant amount of time to be able to build a portfolio. Okay, getting out of time. And then finally, people just throw money away because they are not doing it correctly. Imagine buying a house in absolutely beautiful condition, nothing wrong with it, 150 grand house. It doesn't really give you an income, but it's a nice house. Okay, it is a waste of money. That's why most property investors fail. what you actually need to succeed in this world, okay, in this property world, what you need to succeed. Okay, we'll give you the 5 samurai steps to your success. Okay, what you need to succeed. So the first one is you need to automate your deal finding. Okay, you need to automate your deal finding. Use technology to your advantage. Let something else do all the heavy lifting, scouring through all of the properties on Rightmove and Zoopla and on the market. They do all of that heavy lifting and tell you which properties are the good ones. Okay, that's what we do. Second thing is you need to understand how to raise finance. Whether this is raising through banks, whether this is raising through investment cards, whether this is raising through peer-to-peer lending, through personal investors, through friends and family, through joint ventures, you have to understand how to do that. Third is you have to know how to analyze deals. By that I mean is looking through the numbers and knowing, is this a deal, yes or no? You need to be able to make a snap decision, because the longer that takes, the more deals you're going to lose. Okay, so you need to be able to accelerate your deal analysis. Next, deal progression. This is from when you get your offer accepted all the way through to sale or refinance. There's somewhere around 140 different steps. Okay, you need to know what you're doing. Because if you get any of these wrong, 1, you jeopardize actually buying the deal, or 2, you end up buying a dead deal, or 3, you end up losing money through doing something stupid, okay, or missing something silly. And then finally, you need to be able to manage your portfolio, because it's one thing buying the properties, it's another thing managing the agents and making sure you get the maximum income from your portfolio. Okay, so that's the top 5. That's what you need to do to succeed. Now, what you need to do to win is you need a proven system of success. Okay, that's how this works. You need a system to success. Now, this is what we're offering. What you also need is you need to get yourself a world-class mentor, somebody who has been there before and has done it before. Can somebody name someone who is exceptionally successful in the world and everyone knows about that doesn't have a coach or mentor? Okay. Anybody? Let me be clear. Richard Branson has a mentor. Mark Zuckerberg has a mentor. Elon Musk has a mentor. Okay, they have mentors and coaches. All high-level sports professionals all have mentors and coaches. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, guys? It's important. Because the same thinking you have now is not going to change where you're going. Okay, you need somebody else who has different thinking, who can steer and guide you with a new set of eyes to get to where you have your potential of achieving. Okay, what you also need is a fantastic support community, or community of support. People who will be around you, people who will support you, people who will be there with you if anything goes wrong. Okay, other people on the same journey, on the same path. These are things that you need to achieve your success. Okay, now let me talk to you about some of these challenges that you're going to be facing. So the 5 biggest challenges. So obviously, number 1 is the ability to find deals. Okay, the ability to find deals. 2 is raising finance. 3 is your time availability. How much time have you got? Number 4 is confidence. Okay, that's gathered or gained by having a solid community. And finally, people trying to do it on their own. These are the biggest challenges that you're going to face in your property journey. Okay, these are the biggest challenges. Now, why you should want to do this, why you should want to invest in property, why you should want to invest in yourself, and why you should want to get yourself a mentor, okay, is because you need to learn how to raise finance. You need to know how to be able to analyze the numbers quickly, so you don't lose deals. You need to be able to find deals. Okay, finding deals is important. You need to be able to progress your deals, and much more importantly, you need to know how to manage your portfolio at the end, because if you do not, you're going to lose money. Okay. Out of interest, who wants to lose money? Let me just check in. Who's here because you want to lose money? If it's a no, please give me a no. Okay. No. Okay. Good. Good. Right. The real question for you though is, do you go alone, or do you go it alone? Do you try and do this all on your own? Try and figure out all the mistakes yourself? Or do you try and get yourself some help? Somebody who's been there before, somebody who will prevent you making the same silly mistakes that they made. Okay, that's the $1 million question for you. Now, what I'm going to propose is that we can work together, and it will cost you next to nothing. And we'll do this through a 3-day mentorship. Are you guys okay if I take a few minutes just to talk to you a little bit about a 3-day mentorship of us being able to work together where we can help you achieve your financial goals? Are you guys okay with this? Good. Good. Okay, brilliant. So we call it the Property Investing Masterclass Workshop. Okay, we call it a workshop because we're doing exercises live in the room. We go into breakout rooms. You have coaches you're working with. It is a fantastic weekend. Okay, Property Investing Masterclass Workshop. Now, you might be going, okay, but who's this for? Is this for me? So let me make this very simple. If you are driven to try and achieve something, okay, it's for you. If you're self-motivated, if you can give yourself a kick up the arse yourself, it's for you. Okay, if you are committed to doing something more, it is definitely for you. Okay, if you are mission-driven, okay, you would like to achieve something greater from your life other than just leading a 9 to 5, it's for you. And finally, if you're willing to take an emotional risk, not financial, emotional risk, get out your comfort zone to do something different, it's for you. Okay, you'll do well. Who this is not for, if you are a moaner or a stale, okay, you take forever to make decisions, or if you love to talk a good game, okay, but refuse to play, or if you're lazy, which I don't get from you guys, or if you refuse to change, this is not for you. Okay, now this is what you're going to be learning on the training. Okay, firstly is how to build a cash flowing property portfolio. So first thing, how do you build a cash flowing property portfolio? Okay, second thing is how to create financial freedom for yourself. How to create long-term wealth, not just for you, but also for your family. How to leave a financial legacy, and finally, how to lead a life that you would like to lead. Okay. Right. So write this down. This is the date. Hope you got your pen and paper ready. It is a 3.5 day live training. So write this down. It is the 2nd to 4th of October, and then we'll do a half day on the 5th. Okay, 2nd to 4th of October. And if you would like to know where it is, you're in luck. It's online. Right where you're at now, you can watch the event right from there. Okay, from the comfort of your own home. Okay, I'm very conscious of the whole COVID thing. I normally love to do this in big events, 50 to 100 people. It's normally my sweet spot. I love that. Okay, but we're going to keep it nice and succinct, and we're going to do nice little rooms where we get to communicate and engage in this way. And we'll keep the room smaller, 20, 30, 40 people. Makes it much easier for us to be able to communicate and make sure you all have your questions answered. Okay, so write that down, 2nd to 4th of October. It is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you have something on that weekend, move it. Okay, unless it's a funeral or a wedding or a birth, it's not as important as this. This event could literally change your life forever. Okay, so try and make sure you get yourself along for this. Now, I'm going to play you a quick video. This is of a couple of our mentorship students, Andy and Ruth. Let's see what they thought of the program.
Hi everyone, my name's Andrew Rose. I'm a director of a web agency.
And my name's Ruth. I'm Andy's wife, and I'm a model maker for TV and film.
And we are a typical accidental investor. And it went really well. We thought, let's maybe buy some more property or another property, but we just didn't know where to start. We didn't have a clue.
And also we had no money.
Well, it was all in the properties, yeah. I was talking to a friend, and he said, come along to one of the Katana events. Sort of made sense because it just the way they handle you through the whole process and the tools and the information they give you was kind of invaluable, really.
And also we discovered that you don't need money in the bank as savings. We had property, and that was our money.
I think so. We probably got started, I think, last March, and now we have had, since then we've had offers accepted on 7 properties. We've bought 3 for ourselves, and we've sourced on 4 of those. But I think without Katana, we would still be where we were, involved with Katana and their team.
Get started.
Yay. That's Andy and Ruth, wonderful, wonderful human beings based up in Manchester, doing amazing things in the property world. Having started with not very much and managing to work their way up very well. So very, very happy about it. Now, you might be saying, okay, but what does it cost for us to be able to work together? So this is the typical cost of what it would cost. So let me go through it. Okay, so you get your 3-day live property mentorship training, £500, very, very reasonable. How to find your investment area training video series, £400. And then our systemization ebook, £100. Okay, nice and simple, all very reasonable. Can you get that all for £1,000? I think that's a very reasonable price. Okay. Now, I'm also going to introduce you to something called the VIP ticket. Okay, the VIP ticket. And I want you to listen very, very, very closely here. Okay. So what you are going to get as part of this, okay, what you're going to get as part of the VIP ticket, okay, is you get the Property Investor Starter Kit. Okay, Property Investor Starter Kit. Now, included within this is going to be an estate agent's Q&A guide. Everything you need to say and do when it comes to estate agents, so you don't look like an idiot. Okay, and understanding why they're asking questions. Due diligence process, so you can make sure any and every single deal you look at is a deal. You're not going to lose money on buying a dud. Okay, it's very important. Property deal analyzer. Okay, this is where you have a look at all of the numbers and you know exactly how much you're going to spend, how much you're going to get in return, what your investment return on your investment is going to be, your cash flow, your money invested, everything for buy-to-lets and flips. Okay, a flip is where you buy, renovate, and sell. Okay, you're also going to get an investor legal agreement template. Okay, so it's a template that you can use for any investors you work with. Okay, and I've used this literally on hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, that very same template. You're also going to get step-by-step deal process guide. So everything you need to know step-by-step of how a property investment purchase goes, who's involved, what they do, what you do, when you're involved, when they're involved, lettings agents, estate agents, mortgage brokers, solicitors, accountants, the whole works. Everybody's included step-by-step in a process that takes you down logically, piece by piece, so you know who does what and when. You also get a live Q&A on this Thursday night. So this Thursday night, you get a live Q&A. Okay, that'll be running at 8 p.m. And that Q&A will be with myself and Taro. Okay, we'll be answering any questions you have ahead of the event. Okay, and this is very, very personable, okay, Q&A. You also get a live Q&A with Katana mentors on all 3 nights. So that's on the Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. You'll get Q&As either in the evening or at lunchtime. Okay, we'll decide on the day depending on what's going on and how intense the day is, but you will get a Q&A. And then finally, you also get entered into a prize draw to be able to join our mastermind absolutely for free. Okay, so that's the VIP ticket. Extremely huge value. If I were to put a price on that, okay, I'll go through that with you. Okay, so Property Investor Starter Kit, minimum price of £2,000 without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, then you also get Thursday night Q&A with the speaker. Okay, live Q&A with the Katana mentor. Okay, total 3,000 plus what you would typically get for the ticket prices as well. And you get into the prize draw as a free bonus. Okay, I think again is a very, very fair price. Now, there is also a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Now listen very, very carefully. This is important. If you attend all 3.5 days and you can genuinely stand there at the end of the weekend and say to me, you feel like I've either lied to you, overpromised and underdelivered, or you don't feel like you got value for money, I will not only refund your money, I will double it. I will double your investment back. Why do you think I'm willing to offer that, guys? Why do you think I'm willing to offer that? Let me ask the question. This is an important one. Okay, why do you think I'm willing to offer that? I know it works. Exactly right. Because I know it works. The event is amazing. Now I'm going to give you guys some extra bonuses. Hopefully you guys like some bonuses. So let me give you an extra bonus. So the extra bonus is you get to bring a business or bed partner along absolutely for free. Okay, 1 ticket per household. That is it, or per business. Okay, that is it. I don't believe that you should be paying extra for this. Now, please understand, okay, please understand that out of this session and the next session we've got a lot more people coming to. We're only looking for somewhere around 15 to 20 attendees. The question is that going to be you? That is the only question you need to ask yourself. Is that going to be you? So, as you know, we said the 3-day mentorship, just for the general admission tickets, £1,000. But I did promise you right at the beginning that we're going to do this for you for next to nothing. Okay, who'd be okay if I lower this price significantly? Who'd be okay if I did this? Okay, keep true to my word as promised. Who'd be okay if I do that? I want to see some yeses, otherwise I'm not going to do it. Okay, who'd be okay if I do that? Got to do the obligatory bit, come on. Okay, good. So, this is me lowering the price for you. A little bit cheeky, I know. Okay. Okay. Okay, but in all reality, I want to do something special for you guys. We're going to offer you guys a huge, huge, huge scholarship discount. Because all of our overheads are cut. So normally when we run the events live, our costs are significantly higher. We don't have to hire venue halls. We don't have to fly the team in from all over the world. We don't have to pay for venues, booking for hotel rooms, all that stuff for the weekend, which means our cost has gone down drastically. So what we've decided to do is we've decided to pass on those costs to you guys in the form of a scholarship discount. So what we're going to do, particularly for those first action takers, okay, for the first action takers, the first 2 of you that take the ticket, we're going to offer you a one-to-one strategy call. The first 2 of you to get your ticket booked, you get a one-to-one strategy call with myself. I will work with you on your portfolio or your plan for the portfolio. One-to-one, we'll take a half-an-hour call out. It's extremely high value. Okay, I normally book £2,000 an hour. Okay, I think it's a pretty good deal. So, okay. Now, bear in mind, this is what you need to succeed. So you need the 5 samurai steps. Number 1 is you need to be able to automate your deal finding. Number 2 is you need to master the ability of raising finance to build your portfolio. Number 3, okay, you need to accelerate your deal analysis so you don't lose deals by procrastinating. Number 4, you need to be able to progress your deal so you don't lose money or lose deals throughout the process. And number 5 is you need to nail your portfolio management so you get the maximum cash flow possible. Now, remember, as I said, this was the cost to work together, okay, which was going to be £500 for the 3-day, okay, then also $400 for the video training, ebook, £1,000 for general admission, okay. Of course, if you wanted to do the VIP, $2,000, $250, $750, and then of course your bonus prize draw entry. What we're going to do is we're going to give it to you purely at a massive discount, okay, an insane discount. Actually, the team said to me it's too much, but I think this is pretty fair. Is this pretty fair? Do you think that this is me keeping true to my word that it'll cost you practically nothing to come to 3-day training and change your life forever? Is that a pretty fair deal, guys? Yes or no? Let me just check in. Is that a fair deal? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I agree. I think it's a very fair deal. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to get one of our team to drop a link into the chat for you. Okay. All you have to do is you have to click on that link. So team, if you can just drop that in. Okay. Bear with us 1 second. That link will be in. Okay. Perfect. So if you just click on that link, it'll take you straight through to a payment page. You get yourself booked in and you'll be able to attend the training live this weekend coming. Okay. So make sure you get yourself booked in there. Okay. Remember, we have 100% satisfaction guarantee. I can guarantee you you're going to love the event and get a ton of value. So make sure you get yourself booked in as soon as possible. Now, the quick question is, would it be worth attending if we can enable you to do some of the following? Would it be worth attending a 3-day training if we can enable you to be able to quit your job or leave that self-employed business and stop working hard for money and get money to work hard for money? Would it be worth it? Would it be worth attending a 3-day training if we can enable you to start to buy your time back so you can lead your life on your terms? Would it be worth it to be able to get in a position where you can start to travel around the world and do the things that you would like to do with your life without having to worry about the cost of what's going on at home? Would it be worth attending the 3-day training if it enables you to spend a lot more time with the people that you love the most, your friends, your family, the people you really care for, and again, not have to worry about the bills or any of that sort of stuff? Okay, and would it be worth being able to attend this 3-day training and booking yourself a seat straight on the link to be able to be in a position where you can lead a life where you actually make an impact, where you actually do something of value as opposed to just meandering through life and hoping everything will be okay? So this is how you play, guys. This is the rules. Okay, this is the game. This is how you play. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the link, and I would advise you to do that now and listen to me in the background while you're working. Number 1 is you're going to click on the link. Okay. Then number 2, you're going to select the package you want. Do you want general admission or VIP, where you get all of those bonus items alongside? Okay. Which, let me be clear, VIP is amazing. So we've really uploaded this package. Okay. So select the level you want. And number 3 is book your ticket. Okay. Deal with the payment, deal with the transaction, and I will see you at the training. Number 4 is diarize the event. Put it into your calendar. I cannot express the importance of this one enough. Okay, make sure you get this into your calendar. Number 5 is prepare for your life to change forever, because it will. That's how it works. Okay, so that's how you play. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to click on that link and go and book the ticket right now. Okay? Don't sit, don't wait, don't think next time. Just go get it done. I will see you at the training. The real question, though, and the real thing you want to ask yourself, for those of you that are sitting on the fence going, I don't know if I want to spend 50 quid, change my life forever, okay, is Whose life does your inability to take action affect? By not doing this, whose life does this affect? Let me ask you very clearly. Because is it really your life that you're hurting by not doing this? Or is it somebody else's? And that's the thing I want you to be thinking about and to consider when it comes to making this decision. So look, now you have a choice. Either bumble along and try and figure this out on your own, or come along to the 3-day training and we will change your life forever. Yes, so Ashish, if you get yourself booked in, you'll be invited to future events. We run one a month. Okay, as to how we run this model, I'm not 100% sure, but I can guarantee you prices are going up, so without a doubt. Yeah, just get yourself booked in. You'll be invited to the next one. Just send an email to the team. Say, look, can you send me the dates? Get yourself booked in. You'll get an email with confirmation and stuff, and then we'll send you out all the dates. Nice. Okay, perfect. Like I say, so now you guys have a choice. Do you fumble around and try and figure this out on your own, or do you get some professional help and actually make a go of this and try and change your life? Because if you're really here and you really would like to change something in your life, this is how you do it. Let me be 100% clear. Now, as I said, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want people to keep sleepwalking into financial poverty. And secondly, it makes me feel pretty damn good when I'm speaking to mentorship students telling me how their life has changed forever, how they've achieved financial freedom, how they can now take their kids to school, how they now get their kids to private school, how they now change their socioeconomic life. It's a pretty powerful experience to have people say this to you, to actually feel like you're doing something of benefit to others. Don't you think that you deserve better? And that's the real question, right? If you look at your life now, do you feel like you are leading the life that you want to lead? Don't you think that you deserve a better shot? That's the real question. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the floor to you guys for some questions. And I'd love you guys to ask any questions you have. Okay, we put aside about half an hour for the Q&A. It typically only lasts about 15 minutes. Normally a handful of questions that you guys have. Okay, but please ask any questions you guys have. What questions do you guys have? Please drop them out. Okay, so what questions have you guys got? Please drop it into the chat now. If you have no questions, just please write no questions. That's also fine. If a question pops up afterwards, also welcome. You get a time to query me as much as you want on anything property, anything Katana, anything me, and I'm more than happy to answer anything. You have personal time with me, so utilize it. It is your time. So let's check out who's going to be our first question. Okay, who's going to be our first question? Okay, is there any other dates? Okay, yes. So if you cannot make this weekend coming for whatever personal circumstances that are immovable, okay, you are welcome to attend one of our future events. We'll be running another one in October. So I believe at the end of October, and another one in November as well. So we have got other events. We typically tend to like to run these once a month. Look, I like to have within a period of time a certain number of people that I work with, because this is how I fill my time and how I get my gratification from life. So really, really good question. Thank you, Devin, for letting me know no questions. Okay, any other questions, guys? Please feel free to ask. How long have I? So I've been investing for about 6 years now, since I first took a bit of a switch. Life was very interesting back then. How I was working in a job, it was really, really interesting. So, okay. So Ben, yes, there are. I can't guarantee the price is going to be the same, if I'm completely honest. So we're in the midst of pushing back into pre-COVID price structure again. So our events were between 495 and 3,000. So depending on how we did it. So my suggestion is, if you get a chance, get yourself booked in now, and then you could attend a future event if you can't make this one. But if not, I completely understand. Is there a session catered to specific topics, e.g. finance options, automating deal finding? Yes, Ashish, yes. So the entire weekend structure, that's a brilliant question, by the way, for those of you that want to understand the structure of the weekend. Basically, we kick off the weekend with going through property investing basics. So how property investing works as a basic. Then we go into selecting your strategy, selecting your investment area, and these are all sections throughout the weekend. Select your strategy, select your area, finding deals, so finding the right properties to view, viewing properties, costing up refurbishments, managing refurbishments, analyzing deals, raising finance, progressing deals, managing your power team. So yeah, basically we got a lot of stuff we cover throughout the weekend. So you get end to end everything you need to know from end to end as to how the whole thing pieces together. And it all comes around, it all pivots around systems and automation. So, I mean, if you want to learn how to scale this quickly, this is kind of how you do it. But yeah, really, really good question there. Thank you, Ashish. Yeah, so that's literally how we cover it. We break it down step by step throughout the entire weekend. We make sure everything's covered. We have it very interactive and engaging. What you'll notice in this session here in particular, it's a 2-hour session, hour and a half to 2-hour session. We don't really get much time for Q&A and conversation just because it's such a condensed time. So I don't really open the room up as much to conversation as I do, well, on the 3-day, except for right at the end. Whereas in the 3-day training, it's basically Q&A all the way throughout. I like to have it as an engaging conversation. We also have breakout rooms with coaches and other stuff like that as well, which makes it really cool, makes it really fun. Really good question, by the way. Thank you. I like that. Okay, any other questions, guys? Anything else I can help with? Okay, any other questions? Okay, timings, 10 till 4, 10 till 5-ish. I talk too much. I tend to overrun on our sessions. So we always say 10 to 5-ish all 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you miss Friday because of work, we can send a recording out, but it takes a while for that recording to be sent, just because it has to encode on the computer before we can then upload it onto the system and then email it out. So it doesn't normally go out till about 10 o'clock at night, which tends to not be enough time to view it, but it is an option. If for whatever reason you can't make it all of Friday and you only catch some of it, you can then go back and catch a recording of some of the stuff that we cover on Friday. But yeah, so it's 10 till 5-ish all 3 days. Normally lunch for an hour, half an hour to an hour. And then on the Monday, we do a half-an-hour bonus session as well. The half-an-hour bonus session is amazing. We cover quite a lot of cool stuff there as well. So very cool. Yeah. Any other questions? If there's no other questions, if you've got no other questions, please give me a no question or a no in the chat, and then I'll know to be able to close out the session for you guys and let you get on with your evening or your day. Okay. Cool. Cool. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. Excellent. So no questions. No questions. Okay. If you have got any questions, no further questions. Excellent. Okay. If you have got any other questions, please feel free to drop a message to. You'll see it on the Facebook groups and stuff. If you aren't already following us, you can head over to our YouTube channel, Katana Training, Facebook page, Katana Training, also Richard Van Ommen, which is me, and then also Facebook group, Katana Property Channel. You can follow us all on there as well. You should be on our email database and be receiving stuff anyway. But if you have any questions, you can post on any of those forums, and I'll make sure that either me or the team responds as quickly as possible. But look, guys, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate each and every single one of you taking the time out today. I look forward to seeing you a little bit later and hope you have an amazing day. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. We'll see you guys on the events of the weekend for those of you joining us. All right. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.